Or do you come from a country that is group-focused? Let's look at the map. And let me tell you about another client of mine. I came in contact with a group of engineers from San Francisco. Normally my clients come to me after they have failed. They come to me because they are in crisis. They never think about those things until they explode in their face. So they call me up, ring, and they said, hey, perhaps you could help us. We went to a trade show in New York last year, and we met this group of fabulous architects from Saigon. We went to Saigon because we wanted to make sure that they had the right software. We wanted to make sure that they had a real office. We wanted to make sure that they had staff in place like they pretended they had, and check, 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 check. They are perfect. We are involved, we are commercial architects. We are involved in a very, very large project in the Bay Area. And we have hired those Vietnamese architects to outsource the drafting part of the project. Because the drafting part, when you have an architectural firm, is the most expensive part. And they thought, wow, those guys are so affordable. We're going to make a killer. It's going to be great. We can outsource all of that work. Joy, joy, joy. So they went to Saigon. They showed them the project. They give them a deadline. They give them the tools. They give them the parameters. And then they went back to their busy lives in San Francisco. And when they went back to their busy lives as good Americans, they didn't micromanage, right? They delegated, and it's all good. No news is good news. So for about 10 weeks, no news. And suddenly one of those guys, the architect from San Francisco, said, hey, we should probably check in with our Vietnamese partners there. They should be practically done with that project. We don't hear much from them. They must be doing great. Ring, ring. Hello, Saigon. How are you doing? Oh, we have been waiting for you to start the project. When would you like us to start? The architect from San Francisco banged their head against the wall. What do you mean? You haven't started? You were supposed to start the day we left. And they said, oh, well, how would we have known that? You told us to, I don't know, you told us something strange that we needed to run with the balls, like, like the corrida. So we didn't really understand. We just kind of waited for you to call us when you got back. And we know you're busy, so we didn't want to interfere. We thought that you would call us. Major failure. They lost the project. It was a disaster. They did call me because they said, we understand that we're doing something wrong. Because those guys are capable. Those guys have everything we need to succeed. But we realize that our communication style, it doesn't work. Could you come and bring us together and teach us how to work together? And that's what we did. And it was hilarious because they all worked on assumptions. And when they started debriefing on what they thought of this running with the ball, they don't play American football. I guess it's an American football expression, right? You guys are cowboys. Running with the ball, yeah? But it meant nothing to them, it meant nothing to me. And if you look at the map, you find Vietnam there, and you realize that it's a strong group-focused mentality, which means that people have to be micromanaged. And they don't take it as an insult. Here, if you micromanage people, they'll tell you, hey, who do you think I am? I can do my job. You don't have to breathe on my shoulders all the time, on my neck. Leave me alone. If I need you, I come to you. Well, not the case when you change culture. People like, when I work for my Brazilian company, as you see there in the gold here, I called twice a day. Twice a day, I called to see if what we had discussed 3 hours prior had been done and understood. And they never said, Valerie, why do you keep on calling? You are taking up all our time. Why do you call? We told you we would. Never. They were always delighted to hear from me. They were always flattered that I would invest the time in checking in with them. And that's what it takes to be successful, is to understand that what you think might be insulting might be, in fact, a compliment to someone else. Our third variable dimension is the global view of business focus. And I will tell you that 80% of my consulting practice comes from that dimension alone. Because in the United States, people sell a product. They sell a warranty. They sell a price. The person who does the selling is dispensable. In fact, it shows all the time because they lay off people right and left. And if we look at the map of the world, we realize, do you see how strongly transactionist North America is? Do you see a lot of blue in the rest of the world? No. Why? Because the rest of the world is about relationships. People assume that your product will be good. They assume that your price will be competitive. But what will be the biggest selling point is the type of person the salesperson is. And why is that? Well, it's very easy to explain. In the United States, we rely on the law. Every company, even the small ones, have an attorney on staff. The minute you have a problem with one of your clients or suppliers, you pass it on to legal. It happened to me. I used to work for corporate America, and they came to me and they said, no, 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 no. They're not paying. Legal's going to take care of this. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, they're not paying. Let me make a phone call. I know, those are my people. This is my account. And they said, no, legal will take it from there. You are from now on not allowed to talk to this client ever again. I was also taught that I should never mix business and pleasure. I didn't know what to do. Because when I worked for my Brazilian company and my South African company, I would go on vacation with my clients. I would go drinking with my clients. I would do everything with my clients because I love my clients. They are great friends. And we get along. And we like to be in each other's company. Well, my corporate America taught me that this is a liability. And it's called the FCPA, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And I was in fact sent quite a few times to see the attorneys and to be reminded of how dangerous my behavior was. Because they learned that I had invited one of our suppliers to my house for dinner. And that is corruption, ladies and gentlemen. I said, really? What did he give me? And they said, well, we don't know. And that's exactly the danger. You cannot have people in your home. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, what is the problem? I mean, he has been eating restaurant food for a month. And they said, well, that's not your problem. Maybe he enjoys restaurant food. Don't do that. It's a liability. Don't take people into your house. You can't. That's part of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So I became an expert at the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and I realized that very few people in America know what it really means. But that's a subject for another day. I just want you to know that that dimension, mixing business and pleasure, is the biggest stumbling block of American companies because they don't know that the world craves relationships. You see, when I worked for my Brazilian company or my South African company, we could not turn to the law. The law, especially at that time, was corrupt. You could not, phone the district attorney and say, hey, guess what? We have some people who are doing us wrong somewhere in the United States. They don't do that for you. What you have is your relationship. If you have invested enough time, if you have cherished, fed, nurtured the relationship, you know that the day things go wrong, and in business, ladies and gentlemen, things always go wrong, that relationship will save the day because you can call and you can say, hey, Francois, I received your container, product, whatever, and we have a problem. And because there is trust between those two people, they will say, Valerie, tell me more, what's going on? Let me look into it. I'm so sorry. Yeah, don't worry, don't pay the invoice. We're going to resolve it. If there is no relationship, or if you pass it to legal, someone who you have never talked to, someone who's going to threaten you right away with some legal repercussion, what do? You climb up and you say, that's how you're going to treat us? After all the purchase orders we have placed with your company, let me show you. I'm going to dig my heel. I'm not going to pay those invoices. And that's where we fail. Statistics show that 75% of ventures, international ventures, that are initiated by US companies fail. 75%. Can you imagine the amount of money that we are just throwing out the window because we don't know how to deal with the world? Invite them in your house. The FCPA is not going to get you for that. If it does, call me. Our next one is communication. I told you a little bit about it. I told you that, when I was fresh from home from Switzerland, I was very direct in my communication. And my husband, who is from Santa Cruz, California, a feel-good country, introduced me to all his friends, and, I thought I was super nice to them. And he took me aside quickly and he said, "Can you please stop shredding my friends to ribbons? Can you please change the way you talk to people? I mean, you're like sandpaper on people's skin." And I practically cried. I said, "What are you talking about? I am super nice to your friends." He said, "Valerie, don't talk to them like this." And I said, "But they asked for my opinion." And he said, "But not that opinion. Not that one. Say something nice." And I said, "But my opinion, if they ask for my opinion, is because they really want to know what I think." He said, "No, they don't. They want reassurance that they are right." And I said, "But in that case, they shouldn't ask for my opinion. Because my opinion, coming from Switzerland, comes with integrity. If you ask for my opinion, it's because you really want to know how I feel. This is a sign of respect for me to tell you how I truly feel, and not to sugarcoat it, and not to lie to you, and not to pretend that those jeans are not making you look fat. If they make you look fat, you can count on me. I'm going to tell you, go change. But not anymore. Now you can count on me to tell you you look fantastic." I have become a better communicator in my husband's view. And if we look at the global view of communication, we realize that this time I come from the blue. Do you see how Scandinavia, Germany, and Switzerland, and South Africa are the ones who are extremely direct? And that's why I had to adapt, because I fell into the red when I moved to the feel-good country. And I had to adjust my communication to a red level. Now I'm practically in the gold. But look at the world and realize that in comparison with India, in comparison with certain Southeast Asian countries, African countries, Japan, or South America, we are way too direct. We jump into business. We jump into painful conversation right away. When I worked for my Brazilian company, my president, who is Brazilian, left the room just about every single time that our customer, Home Depot, would come and visit us. They would arrive with a schedule that was jam-packed with meetings. They had rented a private plane, and they would see 4 suppliers a day in a country as big as Brazil. They would arrive, they would come to our conference room, they would say, "Hello, hello, so good to see you, let's sit down." We would say, "Would you like a cafecino? How was your trip?" And then we said, no coffee, thank you very much." "Well, so last month, you sent us 10 containers that had so many rejected pieces." And my president would be like, "Oh, barbarians. How can they tell us that? They haven't even said hello, they haven't even had a coffee with us. How can they tell us that we have a problem when we haven't even made up?" And he would normally slam the door and leave. And the guys from Home Depot, of course, had no idea what was going on. They just thought he had a busy meeting, or that, he had an emergency. It never ever crossed their mind that maybe they had offended him. Then he would invite them to his home. He had this wonderful house with a private tennis court, swimming pool, constant party. And they would say, "Oh, no, we need to go back to the hotel, we have some emails to answer." And he would say, "Get me those people out of my view. I just cannot deal with them any longer. I mean, they are animals. They are barbarians. Take them out of town." And I would have to go knock on the door of the guys from Home Depot and say, "Guess what? This is work. You coming to dinner at my president's house tonight is part part of protocol. I know you would rather veg out in front of ESPN in sweatpants. But still have work to do. You need to come with me, and you need to put your table manners on, and you need to be a gentleman for the evening. And literally, I had to drag them screaming and kicking down the hall, like, oh, I don't want to, you know, I'm busy, I'm tired, I'm jet lagged. And I would say, well, you need to come with more time on your hands. You need to adapt to our schedule. You're making a killer when you come and buy from us in Brazil. In exchange, we expect you to behave like a gentleman. And they would say, what are you talking about? We're from Charlotte. We are Southerners. We are extremely gentlemanlike. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not when you look at that map of the world and you realize how you're behaving. So, we learned a few things together. Then we'll go on into the concept of time. I told you I'm from Switzerland, right? Let's look at the map. So here I am, and as you can see, I am once again in the blue. I am extremely linear. Time is money, ladies and gentlemen. And in fact, in America, same thing. In the United States, you are all blue as well. And listen to our speech patterns. Do you have time? Do you have a few minutes of your time? Can we have a little bit? Yeah, it's okay? Is it a good time? Can I sit down with you? No, I don't want to take too much of your time. You know exactly what it means. Thank you so much for your time. Time is our master. And as soon as you leave the blue, which is highly isolated, isn't it? You realize that what my president told me one day, I was throwing a fit. In fact, I resigned from the company. 8 months into my job, I said, this is it. I cannot function with those Brazilians. They are driving me crazy. They cannot respect any deadline. They cannot load one single container on time. And then I have to deal with Home Depot. And they tell me, you know, we need on-time inventory. One more time, and you will be fired, and there will be some serious repercussion. And I thought, I quit. I have a reputation to protect. I quit. So I went down to Brazil. And I went to meet with my president, and I said, I quit. I give you whatever time you need to find someone else. I cannot work with you. He was shocked. He said, Valerie, what do you mean we work well together? We like you. You're doing a great job. I said, well, I don't like you. You're driving me crazy. I cannot work with you. And he said, well, what do you mean? What are you complaining about? We just bought you a new handbag. I said, yes, I really like the handbag. You can keep on sending those. You see no FCPA problem with them. And I told him, I said, we have a problem with time. You don't understand time. That's what it is. You don't get time. And you know what he did? I will never, ever forget that. It was beautiful. He stood up, he took a chair, he climbed on the chair, he took off the clock from the wall, and he threw it in the garbage. And he said, you're going to let this mechanical piece of you-know-what to get between us? He said, Valerie, this is just a decoration. This is a mural decoration. Don't let this piece of mechanics get between the real things in life. You see, it's no longer functioning, and we are still breathing. And we are still talking. And if we never put it back on, the world will keep on going on. Because what matters in life is not a clock. It's what we do with one another. It's how we treat each other, how we respect each other. Don't let that thing ruin everything for you. You need to relax. You need to relax. You're so uptight. I mean, I have a problem with you. You're always uptight. Come on. Have some cachaça. Just relax. Enjoy life. I mean, really, that clock. I mean, what is that? Why are you so crazy about that clock? It's your master. Don't let this happen to you. And I thought to myself, oh, deep breathing. It is my master. It has been my master since I articulated my first word, which in Switzerland is mold. It was like a total rehabilitation program that I had to go through. And then I decided, well, you know what? My customers, my Home Depot guys, etc., they live by the clock. So what am I going to do? So I became a master liar. Still. I started started falsifying every purchase order that I received from my clients, entered it in the first Excel database I have ever had access to the class. And I would send them the falsified purchase orders. Like this, they never knew that I was building a buffer of 6 weeks between production and shipping time. Because I realized that they were always between 4 and 6 weeks late. So I just modified the purchase orders. And I refused to give them the originals. I said, no, you'll be working on my terms from now. You want me to work for you? This is what it's going to be. And it worked. It worked. They saw that I relaxed. I didn't. And my client thought I was a master because I was the only Brazilian supplier who could deliver on time. And truly what happened is that I became really good at lying. Our sixth dimension is how to handle change. That's another thing that in the United States is fascinating. Once again, look at it. Do you see how change tolerant you guys are? Look at Australia. I mean, all new countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all new countries are so adaptable. In fact, in America, I have noticed that people feel that change keeps them young. You know, people do Sudoku and things like this because they think it will defeat Alzheimer. But I met a person who told me that she loves change because that's what stimulates her brain. And she loves to take classes at night when she goes home because like this she's never bored in order to learn the new IT system that her company changed once again. If you look at the map of the world, you once again realize that you are very isolated in your views of handling change. Most of the world hates change. People come from cultures where if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So when companies like Abbott Laboratories is one of my clients, they have like 6,000 locations in 132 countries since then. And they change things every day. And then they just send a memo and say, oh, by the way, this and this has changed. And we expect you to have embraced the new policy by October 1st, November 1st. And then they complain. And they say, you know, we have a lot of problems throughout the world, and Europeans are truly the worst. They refuse to embrace our change. What can we do? Well, truly, what I tell them is don't change. Don't change anything. Because they don't like change and they're going to resist change. They're going to do everything they can to not abide to your changes. And if you look at the world, it's exactly what it is, and you cannot change a culture. Or you need to plan for it. You need to be really smooth about it. You need to win people over. You need to come to one person who you know might be change-prone and say, guess what? We will have to change our IT system by the new year, or in October. I would like you to start talking to people. I would like you to start explaining to them that this old IT system is not compatible with our new merger and acquisitions. And we want people to really have a lot of notice and to be aware that we don't want to change things too abruptly on them because we understand how disruptive it is. That, do you think that maybe once a week you could bring that concept to the forefront in your meetings? Okay. You need an evangelist. You need to build coalition for change. You cannot just go there and send a memo and think that people will just say, okay, I will do that on my own time tonight at home. I'm going to look at all of those new changes and I'm going to be so happy to bring them on and to do my work differently on Monday. Doesn't work. Your last one is about work and life balance. And that is a beautiful one as well. I mainly deal with HR directors when it comes to that cultural dimension. They come to me because you know in the United States, you constantly have opportunities to be promoted. And promotion rhymes with more responsibilities. And if you're at a certain level, it means that you may receive a bonus. You may receive a bigger salary. And when they go to Latin America or they go to Europe, let's look at maps again, people are just not too gang-ho on taking on new responsibilities. And when you talk to them about more money, they're just like, yeah, no, yeah, that's nice, but no, thank you. So this HR director called me and they say, we don't get it. Why would people say no to more money? They say no, they turn down. I mean, they literally, they say, no, thank you. like if it was an option. And we cannot threaten that because it's Europe and they have strong labor laws. We cannot say, well, if you don't take the job, you're going to lose your job. We have to say, really? You don't want that job? No, I don't want that job, but thank you for asking. So they come to me and they say, we don't get it. In the United States, people are so happy to be promoted and to make more money. Why wouldn't people in Europe feel that way? Let me think. You know how it works in Europe? People pay a lot of taxes. At the same time, their health is universal and paid for, included. Education, all the way to university, is included. And very affordable. It's not free any longer, but it is affordable. And because of the way that the taxes are set up, the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. And they know that those responsibilities come with more time to be tied down, answering email and looking at their BlackBerry in the evening. And they're thinking, well, what will it do for me? More responsibilities, and all of this money is going to taxes anyway. Because it is catapulting me into a new tax bracket. I don't want that. I want more time off. And those HR directors say, isn't it crazy? They already started with 4 weeks of vacation, and then they come into my room and they say, I don't want more money. The only way I'm going to take on that job is if you give me 6 weeks of vacation. They said, but are you crazy? Because this job will not allow for any vacation. Well, then I don't want it. Because the only thing that's going to stimulate me are more vacations. And they said, but why can they only think about vacation? Well, it's because we are born in many parts of the world with an innate concept of joie de vivre. We work because it is a necessary evil. We have a job because we need to have a roof over our head. But this concept that we are defined by our career, that our profession makes us who we are, is bogus. And that's why when people retire, they tell you they've never missed their job in Europe. My father retired after 40 years working for the government. He said, no, why would I miss my job? It was a job, I had 4 children. I did a good job. I mean, it was okay, but I never missed my job. What a concept, why would you miss your job? It's a job. And here, I have people going into depression in the United States when they have to retire. They said, I have lost my raison d'être. I need counseling. I don't know who I am any longer. I don't have a community to go to. And you're thinking, work is not your community. Work is work. And they said, no, those are my people. This is where I belong. And now I am separated from who I am. I have to reinvent myself. The highest level, especially for men in America, of falling into depression is at the time of retirement. Which, by the way, was just pushed to us in '72. But it's pretty tragic because people are so attached and defined by their work. So this brings us to our conclusion, and I hope I'm on time. But how many here have you seen? How many of you have seen this map of the world? A few. The first time I saw it, I went to visit a client of mine in Asia, and I thought, I wonder what planet that's in. I've never seen something. And then I looked at it and I said, oh, that's Russia! That's the United States. That's Brazil. What's going on? Well, the way we look at the world is not automatically the only way. The best analogy that I have found to adapt our mindset and to develop that cultural intelligence that we all need nowadays is to remember, if you ever had that experience, the first time you had a well drive on the other side of the road. I don't know about you, but for me, it's really in a panic. Because I rely on my cruise control when I drive. I know how to drive. I'm going from home. Sometimes I go to my meeting, if it's in town or if I rent a car. I have no idea how I get there. My brain just knows when it's time to stop, when it's time to go, when it's time to wait, when it's time to apologize. I have no idea how I got there. Well, when we do international business, when we engage with people who come from different cultures, we are driving on the other side of the road. And we cannot rely on what is instinctive and natural to us. We need to realize that this is perhaps the vision of the world. where from their position, they see the world, which is totally different from mine and yours probably. So we need to constantly keep ourselves in check and realize when we have a problem, when we have an occurrence that requires to involve people who come from a different culture, to take the time and say, how would you resolve that problem? From your part of the world, how does this problem look like? What would you do about it? And to truly listen, because they may come with some fantastic solutions that we have never looked at, we have never considered. Like the X-ray machine that cost $1 million. Let me tell you, the people who developed that monster never saw they could do a portable one for $500. They started with the concept that it had to be big and costly. Well, someone else thought, why? Why does it have to be big and costly? It's just a little piece of engineering. I mean, it doesn't have to be. So we need to keep ourselves in check because we are on cruise control. And that is the worry that those 479 executives who were interviewed by The Economist complained about. And they're as guilty as we all are. But this is our chore. This is our task. This is our responsibility for the 21st century. So please, let me tell you, let me know if you have any questions, but this concludes my presentation for you today.
Thanks, Valerie. We have some time for questions if you have any questions. Surely somebody has one. So let me just start and say, for those of you that are going into development, if you look at the flows that she went through in those situations, you get an idea of why it's so difficult. When somebody says, I have a 2-year project, an X number of dollars, and it has to be done in 2 years, and you're going into a community that doesn't want to change, and doesn't have that same linear time that we do, you're almost, from the very beginning, you're predestined to fail. And so one of the things that I do teach, and this is what I'm talking about, Valerie has broken these things down and given me a lot of insights about why things happen the way they did in these different places. But one of the things I do tell people is when you go and do the international development work, the only way it really works is if you can go there, live there, use the resources and form the relationships you need to form. And then if you do something and they find that acceptable or improve it, that will improve their life, they may or may not adopt it. And if they do, you won. You made a change. And if they don't, you still won because the reason they didn't adopt it was because it wasn't going to work in the first place. So I think it's really, this presentation is really important for us all to think about and where we go. And it's just really great to see that now. You notice that there are some countries there that have missing information. And Valerie's been trying to work to put those information in those. So those of you that are from some of those countries and you saw that your country was up there and had a blind spot, if you have some input on what you think that culture looks like, she'd be more than willing to listen.
I have a question, Valerie. How do you keep up to date with, say, current events or being aware of cultural issues? Do you read things or watch certain shows, or how do you stay up to date?
I do read. I read The Economist from cover to cover every week, which is a job in itself. I had to get new glasses, in fact, because everything became very, very small, so I'm reading The Economist. And yes, I read a lot. I have a network of people all around the world. And any time that one of my clients has a problem, I have the luxury of running it by them because I need their input. I'm not an expert on every culture. You can't. You can't. And nowadays, if you work part of virtual teams, you may have 12 different nationalities on your team. How are you going to master the intricacies of every culture on your team? It's impossible. But what you can do is ask questions and listening. I have found that, I learned that when I was learning English and with different idioms. Someone told me, well, the reason you have 2 ears and one mouth is because you should listen twice as much as you speak. And I thought, well, there is some truth to that. We talk all the time, but if you take the time to listen to people, and you ask open-ended questions, like I did with Dr. Deet, people will tell you. They will open up. If you know how to create by making them feel safe, they will open up. So to your question, it's a task for all of us to keep updated